big breaking news coming in from Bengal. Supreme Court has now pulled up Bengal poll panel on the violence. Bengal poll panel opposes the central forces on poll duty. Supreme Court has said Bengal has a history of poll violence, holding polls not licensed to violence. Supreme Court also says that the State Election Commission's responsibility is to hold polls, and for that it appears that central forces will be on duty to guard and ensure violence is kept at bay. Supreme Court pulls up the Bengal poll panel now on that violence, and that Bengal poll panel opposing the central forces to be on duty. The accusations are that the central forces act as agents of the central government, of the BJP. That's the allegation that Bengal has been hurling at the BJP. The Supreme Court now hearing the case on the number of interventions that has been made by people concerned of law and order of the state at the Supreme Court. The court, while hearing one of those matters, says that Bengal has a history of poll violence. Holding polls does not give you the license to violate law and order. The state's election commission is responsible to hold polls, therefore indicating that central forces is the need of the hour. Poll violence right now we see in many parts of West Bengal. Now, Panchayat polls is due to take place in very few days, and we're seeing violence breaking out like just what we saw along the assembly elections time. We see that there have been casualties, there have been injuries, gunshots, bombs being hurled. These kind of, the kind of situation that prevails in West Bengal, one would really wonder what really has happened to law and order in the state at this point. While people there have taken Supreme Court's intervention, the Supreme Court observing that West Bengal has a history of poll violence. Let me cut across to Anisha tracking court for us. Anisha, tell us more on the court's observation as they pulled up the West Bengal government, citing very clearly that West Bengal has really a history of poll violence. It's the Election Commission's duty to conduct polls and do so smoothly. Does the court indicate that central forces is the need of the hour there in West Bengal?
Well, Nabila, the question you're asking is what is being debated in the court right now. The Supreme Court vacation bench headed by Justice Nagaratna is really looking into this very question. Now, remember, the state government as well as the State Election Commission have opposed the Calcutta High Court's order, which had directed deployment of central forces all across West Bengal. What they have said, or what they are arguing even as we speak, is the fact that there is a risk assessment, security assessment plan that was made for the entire state. About 189 police stations were identified, but the High Court has directed deployment of forces everywhere. Now, what is interesting is that even as the High Court's order is being challenged on grounds of interference into the executive work, the state government has admitted that yes, there is a security consideration in 189 police stations, and that they have already asked for additional forces from other states. That is the point where the entire debate seems to be lagging, that the state government and the State Election Commission do not want central forces to be deployed, while the High Court has called for central forces to be deployed everywhere. The state government, in one of their arguments, has also pointed out that last time in 2018, when the central forces were deployed during the assembly elections, there was an incident where the CRPF fired at a crowd where 8 people had received serious injuries, and that is why they're saying that since central forces are not under our control, we do not want central forces. Even as we speak, this debate is still going on. The Supreme Court, of course, pointing out that there is a history of poll violence in the state, that there is a requirement to ensure that there are free and fair elections that can be held, and if there is bullying or intimidation of people who are going in for filing nomination papers, that means that this will not be a free and fair election. That is the observation coming in from the Supreme Court. But at this moment, the State Election Commission and the state government seem to be opposing the interference by the High Court, even though they are admitting that yes, additional forces will be required, which have been requisitioned from the other states. So this matter has been going on for several minutes now, and it seems that multiple parties, including the Congress, the BJP, the ruling Trinamool Congress, all of them have are putting their views forward before the Supreme Court as well. Senior advocate Vivek Tankha has now just started arguing on behalf of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. And we will be bringing you further updates as the court hearing progresses.
At this point, what we know is that West Bengal is burning. We're seeing many parts, violence that's taking place to the effect of guns being shot, these crude bombs being hurled, fire erupting in areas where, vehicles being vandalized. These are the images that are almost coming on a regular basis from West Bengal. It's clear that the Supreme Court now, while observing the matter, whether or not central forces must be deployed in West Bengal to maintain calm ahead of the Panchayat elections. These kind of arguments are right now underway. Anisha brings us a lot more from court, where the Supreme Court observing in a poll-bound state like West Bengal, history is, they in fact have a history of violence, and that's what's noticed. It's the duty of the Election Commission to ensure that they are going to carry out the elections with law and order in place. So likely the Supreme Court now looking at the fact that central forces should be deployed.